I'm going to call this Board of Education meeting to order. It is 6:06 PM. We're in the Nashua North Boardroom. Just before we head on, I have like 4% battery left on my iPad, so I'm going to work off this paper, but if anybody has any questions about the meat inside, I'm not going to be able to scroll through. So I might have to ask you guys some pretty ridiculous questions, like, what? So just bear with me. I apologize for not having the proper tools. But anyway, Ms. Lampier, can you do roll call and then the opening statement? And then Ms. Prin, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Okay, so Ms. Darling?
Here.
Hey. I'm here. Ms. Raymond? Here. Ms. Prin?
Here.
Mr. Claffey?
Here.
Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Ms. Lopez?
Here.
Ms. Gilio?
Here.
Ms. Bishop?
Here.
Okay, and then we also have Dr. Andrade and Mr. Posca. We have Dr. Scarpati and Ms. DeGray. And our student reps aren't here. They might come later. So yeah.
Shake is not going to be able to, he's out tonight,
Okay.
so
All right.
count on him not coming.
Okay, let's see. Now, the opening statement. As elected officials, we have the high honor and the serious duty of managing the educational institutions of our beloved city. In our common endeavors, may we find a spirit of unity and understanding which will enable us to face our multiple problems with an objective mind, with justice and charity for all, so that any and all decisions made by us will be for the betterment and greater happiness of all of our fellow citizens.
Thank you, guys. So this brings us up to our first section of the meeting that Dr. Scarpati is going to lead us in regards to the SAS results. So the floor is yours. Thank you for putting all of this together for us.
Of course, thank you. And I'll present this with Mr. Posca as well. All right, so students in New Hampshire take the SAS annually. It takes place in grades 3 through 8 in both math and ELA, English Language Arts, in the spring of each year. Students test in science only in grades 5, 8, and 11. And the SAT in grade 11 is the high school piece. We're not looking at the SAT this evening. That could be a separate presentation if that's of interest. Proficiency categories for the SAS include highly proficient, which you'll see represented as blue, proficient, which will be green, approaching proficient, which is yellow, and below proficient, which will be red in the graphs. So this data, the proficiency data, is used in conjunction with growth data, access scores, which is the English language proficiency scores, graduation rates, and other measures to determine accountability designations. And those will be out for this past spring's data within the next 1 to 2 months, we've been told. Looking at participation rates, on the left are the participation rates in the SAS testing for Nashua, and on the right for the state. The state expectation is that 95% or more of students test. There are accountability penalties for having less than 95% of students test. And that is due to the parental opt-out, that students don't have to take the assessment. But you'll see we're at 89, and 72% participation for the spring assessment, which is considerably lower than the state participation scores. And that does have an impact on our accountability. Here you'll see trends over time. So these are overall proficiency rates for math, ELA, and science for the state on the left and the district on the right. I think what's notable is a couple of things. We see that for both, the English language arts scores are considerably higher followed by math scores, and lastly, science being the lowest performing test. You'll also see that the trends for Nashua mirror the trends for the state, with ELA and math scores being fairly level with slight growth over the past couple of years, and a slight dip in science over the past couple of years for both. First, we'll look a little bit more in depth on math. Again, this is kind of similar data to what we saw in the line graph. On the left are the proficiency scores for the different grade levels for the state on the left versus Nashua on the right. The color coding just shows the cohorts there, so you can look at the same group over time. But we see a dip in scores between grades 4 and 5, both at the state level and the district level. And we do see a little bit of an additional dip between 5 and 6 at the district level. And again, kind of overall, kind of a flat line from year to year. We're not seeing a lot of growth at the state or district level year to year in terms of overall proficiency. Okay, this is the...
Dr. Scarpa, do you want to take questions in the middle or at the end? What would be most helpful for you guys?
I'd probably end,
probably
just
the
so we
end.
can, it's a lot
Okay.
in here, so we can kind of get through that and then come back to questions, if
Okay,
that's okay.
thank you.
These are the results for 24-25 for math. Again, it shows the breakdown. This is a little bit more level of detail. So for each grade level, what percentage of students fell into each of the 4 proficiency categories. The number at the top shows the average composite score for that grade level as well. So what we see kind of in summary here is a gradual decline in the elementary years from 45% proficiency in grade 3 to 37% proficiency in grade 5. And we see a drop to 24% proficiency in grade 6. Here's the results broken down for our population of ELL students. Overall proficiency for our ELL students is lower across grades 3 to 8, with proficiency ranging from 29% in grade 3 to 8% in grade 7. However, what we do see is considerable growth with our ELL students, both within a grade level over time, as well as within cohorts of groups as they move up, showing growth. So here you can see the scores for our grade 3 students over the past 3 years. And you can see we've reduced the number of students that are significantly below level, that's the red, from 58% of students in 2023 to 49% in 2025. And we also see an increase in composite score from 402 to 410 in that same span of time. So we are seeing growth there, and I think that speaks to some of the focus and emphasis we've had on supporting our ELL students these past few years.
And again, just to piggyback on that, this is a highlight for grade 6. And again, you can see we're moving students out from the substantially below level, out of the red, moving them up. Ironically, as Dr. Scott Perry previously noted, we saw a dip in scores from 5 to 6, maybe something due to the transition, but yet here in grade 6, which is also a transition year, we're seeing a little bit of a bump for this ELL cohort as they move forward. So again, I think it speaks to the work of those ELL teachers, some of those students who are aggressively kind of looking to try to better themselves and are taking advantage of being in general ed classes as we go forward. Again, you see that same piece in grade 8. Again, it's looking to have some celebration. You can see over the last 3 years, the bump in the students who are not performing in the substantially below level has significantly decreased from 82% to 66%. Again, we want to make sure we celebrate the work that's going on. Still work to do, but these students are making substantial progress. There's a lot of work to do, but I think we can all acknowledge the fact that progress is being made and moving them up that level is significant.
All right, this is the same data broken down for our students with IEPs, looking at math scores for grade 3 through 8. Again, we see that math proficiency for these students is lower, with proficiency ranging from 20% in grade 3 to 2% in grade 8. However, seeing again some good growth. The next slide shows growth again amongst our grade 3 students, reducing the number of students that are substantially below level from 72% to 55% over the course of 2 years, and an increase in composite scores from 387 to 401 over that time span.
Sorry.
A lot of papers here.
Again, 22 through 25, you see movement of that significantly below group. Again, I think you see a pattern and a trend evolving here with some of our cohort groups. Again, and similar as we talked about before, during a transition year, we're seeing another little bump up, considerably different than what we've seen before. So again, going from 85% substantially below in 22-23 to 77% in 24-25. I'm gonna jump into some, whoops, I skipped around a little bit. One of the things I did want to point out here is when we're talking about some of our iReady data. At the middle school level, we've been able to utilize iReady in grades 6, 7, and 8. I demonstrate this slide because it shows the percentages of kind of growth amongst all 3 schools who are utilizing it. We started utilizing it 2 years ago. Last year was the second year. Even the first year, we didn't purchase it until about December, so it was about almost halfway through the year. Last year, more significant usage of the iReady piece, and now here we are this year. We have a lot more plans to use it, which you'll see a little bit before as we go forward. But again, overall, I think you can see some of that iReady growth. And what iReady says is when done consistently, it should kind of tell you and be a predictor of how students will be performing on the SAS score. So I show that because as we get into this score as a district in grade 6, if you look up top, our overall percentage for grade 6 is 24. For SAS proficiency, our overall proficiency in iReady was 36%. That's a pretty significant difference. We actually had a conversation with iReady about how significant that difference was, because when we look at the other scores, you're going to see a lot more consistency about it. They really didn't have an answer for us. We had about the same number of students who were participating in it. It wasn't any difference. It was kind of a little bit of an anomaly, because you look at grade 7, again, look at the percentage for the overall as a district. Our SAS proficiency is 27%. iReady was 26%. Even when you break it down by some of the schools, you can see that consistency overall there, which is really what they predict. And again, the same thing in grade 8. 27% proficiency for SAS, 28% overall for grade 8. So we do see significant usage of that, and part of our next steps as we talk about that is continued usage of iReady and more usage of the personalized instructional modules to support interventions. And really what that means is if Dr. Scarpati is scoring at the proficient level, she's going to get some modules that really challenge her based upon what her needs are. But if Matt Posker is, 1 or 2 grade levels below, he's going to get different modules that support his needs. So we're going to have increased use of those modules that are specific to each student. And the other piece is consistent data review of grade level standards during our PLC meetings. We're fortunate at the middle school level where we can meet weekly for PLCs, which is unlike some of the elementary and high school levels. So have more consistency with that, as well as increased coaching cycles from our math coach. So we've had all of our we'll say newer teachers who are new to the profession and new to Nashua go through coaching cycles with our math coach to support not only the use of our curriculum, but also kind of getting used to things, how things are done in the classrooms in Nashua, and get that support as they transition in.
And then for elementary, we are partnering with Math Empowered this year for Math PD. That is half-day sessions on our 3 PD days, as well as 3 coaching sessions over the course of the year for every teacher. So they'll get a 2-hour chunk of time 3 times a year to work with the coach from Math Empowered on making sure that lessons are hitting grade level standards and engaging students in student talk. If you want to just look on here. Data to look at. We don't have as much of that at the elementary level for math. We do have the module assessments, so we're really looking to see how can we be making better use of those assessments in our PLCs to analyze student mastery. And then we are piloting in a few schools the math M class. It's kind of the equivalent of the DIBELS that we use for reading, but for math. So we do have a trial of that we're checking out this year to see if that gives us valuable information or not, as well as the Bridges intervention program for math we're piloting in a couple of schools as well, just to see what else might be out there that we need to look at. Right, and then for ELA, this is a similar comparison. That's our English language arts scores. On the left are the trends over time by grade level for the state versus for Nashua on the right. And again, we see a similarity both in terms of kind of overall range of scores as well as trends over time. We do see a bit of a dip in those transition years like we talked about for math as well, that we are continuing to kind of look at and see how we can support. But again, similar overall trends to the state data there. This is the data broken down just for this last year's assessment, grade 3 to 8. So we see that ELA assessment proficiency rates average between 38 and 44%, varying by grade level. All right, this is a cohort model here, looking at growth of the same group of students between grades 3, 4, and 5. So this is the past 3 years, 22 to 25 data. So we see that 33% of the students were proficient when they were in grade 3, and that shifts up to 44% of students proficient when they hit grade 5, and that's that same cohort of students. So that's nice to see that growth over time. Again, speaking to the M-class scores, this is similar to what Mr. Pasco was just referring to with the comparison to iReady. What we see is that students, far more students are showing that they are proficient or above when we look at the M-class data, as well as the maze data, and I'll kind of explain this a little bit more, compared to the SAS. I think that's for a couple of reasons. When we look at the composite scores, really this is a measure primarily of foundational skills. So can students decode, right? Do they have those foundational pieces of reading to be able to read? And can they read with fluency? When we look at the maze assessment, it's a pretty basic comprehension assessment. That's not really with robust, complex text where they have to analyze and dig deep into it like they have to do on the SAS. So when we get to next steps, we'll talk a little bit more about this, but I think we need to be using some additional assessment measures in comparison with our M-class data to really get a good picture of who might need additional support to meet proficiency on the SAS. Again, these are results broken down for our students that are identified as English language learners. The ELA proficiency for this group of students overall is lower in 3 to 8, with proficiency ranging from 29% in grade 4 to 12% in grades 5 and 8. And again, seeing some nice growth over time, especially in reducing the number of students substantially below proficiency, with 75% of students scoring in the red in 2023's assessment, down to 58% scoring in that range with our 2025 data and an increase in scores from 534 to 549. So it's some really nice growth there.
Again, highlight similar pattern in grade 7 at the middle school level, where you see some growth from over the last 3 years in grade 7, going from 69% substantially below to 47% substantially below. Again, the proficiency level about the same, but again, we're moving students from the bottom, and again, we start focusing on that middle group to continue our growth for those next steps. I think this is me too, huh? Again, as we saw before, that growth over that 3-year model that sees from 22 to 25, you see the similar type of growth is how our students, that cohort is making some strides, although it's flattening out a little bit the last 2 years. We're in that range of 51%, which is again, significant difference from 22, 23, where we had 61% in that group. So we're seeing, again, those cohorts making progress.
Right, this next slide shows the ELA data over time. For this past year for our students with IEPs. It does show lower overall proficiency scores, with scores ranging from 14% proficient in grade 3 to 7% in grade 8. However, again, some nice growth. This is looking at a cohort of students from the past 3 years, looking at their scores from grades 3 to grade 5, seeing 4% of students proficient in grade 3, and that moving to 12% in grade 5.
Again, highlight grade 6 as a transition year. Again, movement out of significantly below, similar to what we saw in math. And again, here's a transition year where we are making some progress, this cohort of students on their IEPs, but also making some growth at the top, where we have almost 12% of our students being proficient. So a nice demonstration of growth for these cohorts in ELA for students on an IEP. Again, to demonstrate some of the usage for iReady, and when we test, usually we test 3 times over the year. Kind of a fall, beginning of the year, middle of the year, and then an end of the year. Beginning of the year, overall, 28% of our students were proficient at that time when they took it. Again, when you can see how they performed at the end of the year, we see 37% of our students who were proficient. And then you can see how some of the iReady scores breaks down some of the different subcategories in what they're looking for. I also put this slide in to just demonstrate some of the growth that occurs for our students, and I think that's so important. If we start out looking at what we're really shooting for in that progress meeting is 100% growth. We want to see 100% of our students making that growth. So the median score of, if I look at 3 or more grade levels below, is 112% over. That means we have 12% of our students scored higher than the median growth of 100. And overall, 54% of our students met their average median growth. And you can see that for those 2 different levels. So if you see the patterns that we've talked about previously, those groups that are performing substantially below are making some growth as we go forward. Again, it is really hard to make some significant growth at the top. If you're proficient. To try to go to that next level is a challenge. So again, I don't want to skew those numbers there, but I do want to kind of promote the growth that's occurring for some of our students who are well below grade level. Again, I'll just talk about some of the next steps at the secondary level. Continue to work with our middle school ELA resources and make sure they're aligned with the standards. Last year was the first year, I should say 2 years ago, ELA teachers at the middle school wanted to, rather than get a canned curriculum, they wanted to create their own resources that were aligned to their standards. We started that work last year. We're continuing that work this year. So they're owning those activities as they go forward. Last year was their first year really kind of going through some of this. again, as we talked about, this is still a work in progress. And again, we give ourselves the opportunity to kind of make some adjustments to some of those activities as we go forward, but the standards don't change. We've also brought in some professional development to work with our staff to support this work. And again, continued increased usage of iReady with the personalized instructional modules to support our students in their interventions.
And then at elementary, we have curriculum groups that are working across K to 5 this year. They're really teacher run, which is exciting. Really digging into unpacking the comprehension standards that are within CKLA and making sure that we're explicitly targeting those in our instruction. Also looking to boost time for small group instruction within the classroom. We are also looking as part of that work to make sure that we have common comprehension assessments that really address the level of the standard that's expected in the New Hampshire SAS assessment. So that's some of the work there. And then we are piloting the SIPS reading intervention, which is like a gold standard level intervention for our students receiving special education services for reading at 3 of our schools. So really looking to see if that can do a little bit of a better job explicitly instructing and moving the needle for those students. And last but not least, science. Yeah. So again, here's our state and district scores over time. Like we had mentioned at the beginning, these are the lowest scores of the various subject areas, and they've remained pretty flat at the state and district level over time. And then here again, we just see those scores broken down by grade level in terms of the amount of students that are proficient. We see, and I could not get this to order in the correct grade level sequence, so I apologize, but we see 27% of students in grade 5 proficient, 20% in grade 8, and 33% in grade 11. And then here we see grade 5 over the past 3 years. Again, just another representation of how kind of stable that has been, looking at 541, 542, 545 as the average composite score over those 3 years.
I would say consistent, still, but still not where we need to be, but kind of similar to what we're seeing at the state level. A little bit of a jump from in 2024 when you're looking at that 23-24 when you look at that cohort of students. But then this year, when you look at grade 8, again, a little bit of a dip. So a little bit all over the place there as far as some of the data, as you can see for science and grade over the last 3 years. And I think that speaks to some of the kind of the next steps that we have to talk about. I think at this time we've consistently implemented Amplify Science K to 8. So all staff are working with that. In addition, we have 2 science coaches who are working with all teachers, both in the elementary level, at the middle school level, to support that. And we're doing a lot more work in our PLCs, monitoring that interim assessment data to see if our students are performing as they should in that and what adjustments have to be made going forward. So I think at this time, Ms. Bishop, I think we could open it up to some questions if they have some.
I'll open it up for questions. Ms. Prin.
I have lots. So I know you actually answered my question about ELA. For math, are they using the same curriculum? Are they using Eureka when they move to middle school from elementary, or is it something different?
At the elementary level, they're using Eureka Squared.
Yeah.
At the middle school level, they're using Eureka with Open Up resources as a supplement.
Okay, makes me wonder why there was such a dip. This is just a curiosity question. For kids who are either ELs or on IEPs, when they're taking the SAS, are they allowed to take those tests in their home language, like if they're an EL, or do they have to primarily do it in English? And like kids who are on IEPs, are they allowed to use their accommodations while they're taking that, or are they not allowed to?
Yeah, well, in students' IEPs, it would designate what accommodations and supports that they have access to specifically for the SAS testing, and those would be implemented. There are some pieces with regard to students who speak Spanish that can help with translation. We don't have it in all of the languages. It's not an option.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Ms. Gilio? Oh. Ms. Lanfear?
What percentage of students who are ELL and IEP are taking the SAS? Because I know just from listening to some of the Board of Education kids that come in, they all kind of say, oh, we don't take that, oh, we don't take that. And I just feel like probably the top percentage of students might be the ones who are not taking it.
I think at the secondary level, there has been that, and I think at the high school level, the SATs are the SAS testing, so not all students are taking the SATs, so you are seeing that. Believe that is part of some of the data that you might be looking at. Not all of our students are participating.
Do you have the numbers, like the percentage of kids who take it every year who are IEPs or ELL?
Are duly identified. I do not have that off the top of my head, but you're looking throughout the district at all levels? The duly
Yeah, I mean, I just would be curious because I know that our numbers of kids with IEPs and kids who take English as a second language is growing. So when you look at our numbers like this and they're not that great, it would be nice if we could also say, well, this is how many of kids that took it that were in ELL, and this is how many that were in IEPs, and these are the kids that didn't have either one of those issues.
You're speaking specifically to the opt-out, correct? Like,
not just to the opt-out, but our whole population, we know what the percentage is that. But if we could see the percentage of who actually takes the SAS,
Right.
that might be helpful to us.
Right, so looking at students that opt out, does that group represent the full diversity of our students, or are some groups opting out more than others?
Yes. Thank you.
Gotcha. That's a good question.
Okay, good. I'm glad it was a good question.
Ms. Darling?
I was actually hoping to kind of speak to what Regan was asking about. This is an email, it's very short, that I sent on May 11th, 2021. I wish for my child to be exempt from SAS testing on the grounds that standardized tests are stupid and don't accurately evaluate a child's progress, success, intelligence, or comprehension of a topic, nor does it accurately evaluate the teacher's method of instruction or ability to teach a topic. Essentially, it's a waste of time and causes unnecessary stress for everyone involved, and you are a saint for having to deal with it as a teacher. Thank you for being so understanding. I regret sending this email now that I have been on the board, now that I understand that there are dollar signs that should be used in educating my child that are not necessarily coming our direction, in part due to the people like me that sit there and we love getting up on our little soapbox and our high horse and say, hey, no, my kid doesn't have to do this, because secretly I wish somebody had exempted me when I was a kid. I think a lot of parents don't necessarily understand that there's a hidden danger out there somewhere. It's not just practicing this right that we have as a parent to say, no, you can't make my kid do this. And I wonder if trying to educate the parents better when we send out like, hey, you can opt out of this, if we maybe word it in a way that they can be a little bit more open-hearted to, maybe we could see a difference. Then again, maybe I'm wishing way too much.
Well, we just love growth, so we'll take it wherever we can get it.
I will also say the 2 years after sending this email, my son intentionally tanked the SAS, so I also apologize for those 2 years.
Any other questions? Ms. Raymond?
Thank you. So my question is really about methodology, I think, for the SAS and how it matches up with what we are doing. So my understanding is that the idea of the SAS is that it tests what the grade level standards are. But is that like somewhere that people could find it? I apologize, I'm from Massachusetts, so we had the MCAS, in the past until this year. And there were accusations all the time that people did so well on MCAS because teachers were teaching the test instead of teaching the concepts. And so how does the SAS in New Hampshire compare to a system like that? That was like 5 questions all squished into one.
I think it's somewhat comparable. It's still trying to assess how we are teaching to the grade level standards, but there is much more. I think it also provides, it's to the point that's been made previously, it's one data point in time. And I think we have to kind of triangulate that data with our other data, and I think we have to also look at our curriculums. And does this align with our curriculums and our curriculum maps and our scope and sequence of the work that we're doing? As an example, when you looked at the grade 5 math data in particular, you saw a significant decrease in grade 5 across the state. That wasn't just unique to Nashua. Is that more of a test issue? Is there other things that are going on that have to be assessed? Dr. Scarpati and I were just at an assessment conference last week. They were talking a little bit more about that, and I think there's more to that coming. Same thing with science. Overall, we've seen science scores that are relatively flat over the last several years. Does that speak to something about the test or what is going on? So I think, there's almost some I wonder and I'm curious about questions that have to be more deeply investigated as we look at some of this data and going forward. But I think our interim assessment data is really more important to kind of triangulate that with the growth that we can see, not only with M-Class and MAIS, but with iReady, can tell us a lot more about what's going on in our classrooms.
Okay, thank you. The other question I had is on, because again, I'm dating myself, but I recall that the iReady is a little bit adaptive. Is the SAS adaptive? Like the new SATs are adaptive. If you're not doing so well, it doesn't give you as hard of questions as you go on. Does the SAS do that?
No.
Okay.
Lanfear?
Well, I'm curious as to how these compare to the pre-COVID scores on the SAS. Have we recovered yet? Are we close to recovering?
It's a good question. The state's not even putting that up on the website anymore. It's gone. So
Okay.
I could dig a little bit deeper into that for you, but all of the data that's included and that is available as part of the state website starts at 2020 with the.
Yeah.
I think we're approaching it, but I think to the point that's been made, I know Massachusetts just did had some data in saying there's only 13 districts in the state of Massachusetts are approaching or have exceeded their pre-COVID assessment scores. So if I were guessing, I said we're probably not there yet.
Do you,
One of those districts was mine.
sorry. Yay, Kirsten.
That is something to celebrate, so shout it from the rooftops. That's amazing.
Do we compare, I know you compared us to the state averages, but I'd like to see how we compare to other schools in the state, individual schools, like districts that were like Manchester, Rochester, like maybe Salem, because they're getting big, just to see how we compare to them.
Mm-hmm. You can do that on the state website, and so we could.
That website is so terrible.
Yeah, so we can play around and do some comparisons and more. We could do that in the future, but I think looking back 10 years, we weren't a top 5 district 10 years ago. To get back to that, so I think about moving forward of where we need to be, and then. The last couple of years we've been talking about Tier 1 instruction. And so really, again, it's about a system, right? So we're not at 80% proficient right now. So when we have a lot of conversations, we want to make sure our Tier 1 instruction and assessment and curriculum is meeting 80%. So right now, we're not there. And then on a daily basis, we're having the conversations. We just reviewed some learning walk data. On a daily basis, are we teaching to the rigor of the standards? And standards have been around since 2010. So we want to make sure, I think there was a comment on, are we teaching to the test? But if the test is at the rigor of the standards, every day we should be teaching to the rigor of the standards, and then what does differentiation look like? So there's a lot of conversations that we're having. Are we using academic vocabulary properly? Are students being, are they aware of the terminology so that in the class, the first time they're saying some of the vocabulary as part of the standard shouldn't be on the assessment? And so are we exposing students to rich academic vocabulary on a daily basis? Are we, again, having conversations around the rigor of the standards? Are we living in the DOK 1 world, which is more about like just basic recall, or are we asking kids to analyze, synthesize, compare and contrast more comprehension questions that are, again, K through 12, the rigor of the standard. So just because you're in third grade doesn't mean that it's all basic recall questions. There are rigorous standards in grade 3 that are appropriate. So we're really looking at, through our PLCs and our coaches, really analyzing our systems as opposed to intervening on interventions. Again, that phrase, rising tide lifts all boats. So if we can improve our tier 1 instruction. And we saw it in ELL in some of the special eds scores that by having higher expectations and differentiating in our tier 1, that we'll see greater movement across the system. But it is a snapshot in time. So like, again, this is one data point, but Mr. Posca mentioned it a couple times. How do we triangulate the data? What's our mid-cycle data, and then what's our street level data? How do we know on a weekly basis or a bi-weekly basis that students are not being left behind and making the proper interventions at that point, as opposed to just SAS and then we're making corrections?
Any other questions? Ms. Daniels-Williams?
So I guess my question to that is, when will we know the answers to everything that you said, Dr. Andre? Like, when will we know how we've processed through asking the questions of all the different assessments and how they're affecting it? Like, what can the board and the public expect as a response to that? Like, so I just, like, what can we expect as a response to that? So yes, we're working on it. We'll be ready to give an answer in 2026. We are gonna assess data for the next 4 years, and then we'll be able to give an answer. Like, when do we expect to have an answer to that? I wanna also thank all the teachers for working so hard to teach the kids, and the kids for improving over these last couple years by this so many points. But I also want to know what we're going to do to help. Yep. Because these numbers, even if they match the state of New Hampshire, shouldn't be acceptable for our kids. So I literally want to know what we're going to do. I know that we talked about bringing Math Empowered. We're doing Eureka this and Eureka that. I just want to know, how are we going to keep track of how well they're doing, what new things that we're thinking about implementing, keeping track of? How are we going to do that for this next generation? That's my question.
Well, yeah, and I think we'll keep on analyzing data for the generations to come. Like, that's never going to stop. So this is our the SAS is our yearly kind of report card, right? And so through our curriculum assessment meetings, we've been having report outs on whether it's iReady data. We had coaches come in the last couple of years on how we're making progress. We'll continue to highlight and celebrate our short-term data, our quarterly assessments, whether it's through our curriculum subcommittees, and then even through, it's part of our strategic plan on how we develop a scorecard that a lot more of this data would be transparent, but it's never going to end. We always look at continuous improvement, always looking at data. Just this afternoon, we were looking at learning walk data. Our building principals will be getting ready for their faculty meetings or their PLCs on how do they use that data to drive instruction moving forward, and hopefully in unit assessments or other common assessments, we'll see a change in practices. So the data review never ends, but we've been highlighting some of those successes in our curriculum meetings or a night like tonight. So that'll be part of our strategic plan, so it's much more transparent. We talked about a scorecard. Eventually, is it up on our website? So.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, thank you guys for putting all of that together. That was a lot of data that you guys poured through and made it easy to understand and digest for us. So thank you for all of your hard work.
Thank you.
Sorry, my thing died officially, but I'm gonna sit here looking like it is working, so I look professional and not, it's dead. So this brings us up to our consent agenda. I would be looking for somebody to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Gilio. I just need a second. Thank you, Ms. Raymond. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes. This brings us up to our public question period. Ms. Darling, do you mind grabbing? I can get it. Ms. Raymond will get it. You guys can just figure it out. Someone over there. Magic me. Thank you. That's okay. We should have. Oh, we should have had Sharon with a new haircut. Sachet across. Okay. So reminder, first public comment period is in regards to topics that are on the agenda. First up, I have Stephen Scare. And we have 3 minutes, and I will put the timer on now.
Stephen Scare, 111 East Hobart Street, good evening. Regarding the parental bill of rights on the agenda, I wanted to respond to board member Christina Darling's response to my comments at the September 29th meeting. She said there is no clause or statement anywhere in our parental rights policy about gender identity or about teachers somehow outing students to parents. I'm grateful that I am on this board where every member of this board reads these policies and actually asks those hard questions. And we have members of the board that truly take some of these issues to heart. But it's very disheartening to me when I hear community members seeming to think it says something it doesn't. At that meeting, I quoted the policy, the Parent Bills of Rights, that was part of it. Number 5, to inquire of the school or school personnel and promptly receive accurate, truthful, and complete disclosure regarding any and all matters related to their minor child. I never claimed that the policy mentioned gender identity or outing students. But there's nothing in this policy that excuses school staff from giving honest answers if a mother asks whether her daughter is claiming to be a boy and using male pronouns. Heather Raymond seemed to acknowledge this at the September 16th Policy Committee meeting when she said, frankly, this was aimed at a court case that happened in Manchester, where the parent wanted the school to out a trans kids. They sued the school and lost at the state Supreme Court. The court said, no, there's nothing in the statute saying that the school has an obligation to out kids, and so they changed the law. Although that mother in Manchester lost her court case, she rescued her daughter from gender ideology before her daughter was permanently harmed with testosterone and a mastectomy. She now accepts her female body and is thriving outside of the Manchester school system. Parents deserve complete and honest answers so that they can intervene before their children are further indoctrinated and sent down a path of irreversible harm. Regarding this board grappling with the tough questions, to my knowledge, you've never discussed the issue at the root of this, which is What's a gender identity? What's a transgender child? What's a boy? What's a girl? Now, I go out and I talk to these people a lot, and about people about this a lot. As a result, I get assaulted, or there are people just trained to shut down these discussions, because gender ideology, the idea that a child can be transgender in the sense that a boy can be a girl, it doesn't hold up under the slightest scrutiny or critical reasoning. Thank you.
Beth Scare?
Beth Scare, 111 East Hobart Street. At the last Board of Education meeting, my husband and I gave public comments, and we received comments back from 4 members of this board. I want to start by calling out the chair for your comments. You said you never know what people are going to say in public comment, and you can always just shut people down or they could sue you. You said that, you said that you only allow us to speak because of a threat of a lawsuit. The truth is that you allow people to give public comment because it is our right under the state and federal constitutions. I applaud Heather Raymond for saying we don't shut people down at public comment because they have a right to make what they want for 3 minutes. That's how public comments work. Regarding our comments about policy AB, the Parental Bill of Rights, Christina Darling said, there's no clause or statement anywhere in our parental rights policy that mentions anything about gender identity or teachers somehow outing students to parents. The Parental Bill of Rights compels teachers to tell the truth to parents who ask if their child has adopted a gender identity and to answer questions about their child's sexual orientation. This aspect of HB 10 was extensively debated at the State House. Heather Raymond can confirm that. Policy AB says parents have the right to inquire of the school or school personnel and promptly receive accurate, truthful, and complete disclosure regarding any and all matters related to their minor child. Also, in response to our comments about the Parental Bill of Rights, Rob Johnson said, one of the things about this policy, this Bill of Rights, is that you should be talking to your child. If you think there's something going on with your kid, you should know about it because you should be having open dialogue with them. It shouldn't fall upon a teacher or a school administrator to let you know what's going on with your kid. You should know that because you're actively involved in your child's life. And if you talk to any parents of children who deal with these issues, the parents are all 100% supportive. No matter their own personal beliefs, they all support their children. I agree that parents should talk to their kids, but I disagree that teachers or school administrators should lie to parents about a child's gender identity. Parents are not 100% supportive of having their kids put on a path to permanent medical harm, including puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and having healthy body parts removed. Many parents are fighting very hard to keep this destructive ideology out of their children's lives. If they were 100% supportive, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Policy AB will ensure that school staff can no longer lie to parents. Policy AB also requires parental notification and opt-out for lessons on gender identity and sexual orientation. Please support Policy AB to protect kids and keep parents in the loop, and because it is the law.
Gary Hoffman?
Gary Hoffman, 38 Perham Street, Nashua, New Hampshire, Townhouse D. So first thing, just one little amendment you might want to make on your agenda. The next BOE meeting's on October 27th, not the 29th. So just on the back there. Second thing I just want to mention, I would love to just lend my support for the Eagle Scout project for the sensory wall at Charlotte Avenue School. As some of you know, I was an Eagle Scout, and I'm still those Eagle projects you have to contribute about 100 hours of work. It takes a lot of effort, but when an Eagle does that project, it's something they remember for the rest of their lives. I know my project's it's still standing. It was made in 1997, and so still proud of it. But the main reason that I came up here is just also speak in support under new business, the Memorandum of Understanding for the eligibility of special education differentials. This was something that was negotiated in the last teacher contract, And the differential just pays special educators $1,500 at the first paycheck of each year. The reason for this is we've had a shortage in this area for years, and we sought to work with management to coming up with creative ways to get more special educators in this district. But one thing that we needed to define was exactly what type of person would qualify. Special education is a very broad designated area. So what this does is this includes teachers of the deaf, for this year only, behavioral specialists and BCBAs, case managers, and elementary school special educators. And then going into next year, the BCBAs and behavior specialists would be removed unless the district changes its mind on that. We've had a lot of discussions with management about this, and I think we've come to a good resolution, and I hope you all support it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. Okay, this brings us up to our superintendent's comments, so I will hand the floor over to Dr. Andrade.
Thank you. So it's been a great start to the school year, and I'm really encouraged by the positive steps we're seeing across the district as we move forward under our theme, Gateway to Opportunity. Our focus this year is building strong systems that support great teaching, meaningful learning, and a sense of belonging for everyone. For our Tier 1 curriculum instruction and assessment, we saw a great presentation tonight around our SAS data and the steps that we'll be looking at moving forward. That being said, our teachers, through our teachers and leaders working in our PLCs and learning walks to strengthen our Tier 1 instruction, there's been a real focus on consistency, rigor, and making sure that every student gets high-quality teaching they deserve. Under instructional supports, schools are taking important steps to expand support for students who need it most, whether that's our ELL students, students with IEPs, or those students needing extra academic or social emotional help. We will continue to bolster these supports through ongoing school-based PD and our district-wide PD days. Real-world learning. We're seeing great interest in our internships, our dual enrollment programs, and hands-on learning experiences. These opportunities are helping students connect with their learning in the classroom to their future goals and careers. As a bit of FYI, our CTE department will be holding an advisory meeting on November 4th. Last year, there was over 150 people who attended that advisory session. So we're looking at great numbers once again. Real world learning, we're seeing great growing interest again. Safety, belonging, and well-being. Every school is working to make sure students and staff feel safe, valued, and supported. The focus on positive school culture and well-being is making a real difference in our day-to-day experience in schools. I want to thank everyone who attended our rededication ceremonies last week at Birch Hill and Maine Dunstable. That was courageous, and I asked students at Birch Hill what was the biggest difference in what they saw in the construction projects, and the answer was walls. So, so something that we kind of take for granted, really, what's a classroom like? But they noticed walls. So again, I want to thank everyone for showing up, and then all of our partners who made those renovations really successful. And also, as a bit of a FYI, Welcome Center is officially opening tomorrow as a soft opening for secondary students. So I encourage people to look at our website, and under parents, they can go to enrollment. There'll be a new feature coming out tomorrow as well. Parents will be able to go on a link to set appointments, similar to how we set doctor's appointments or hair appointments. So it'll be all automated. They can go in and look at a calendar and pick their time in which they can schedule to go into the Welcome Center. So starting tomorrow, we'll have a soft opening for our secondary schools, and then we'll learn from our experiences and then expand the opening for elementary students come January. So again, I want to thank everybody for their efforts that reflect the heart of the Gateway to Opportunity, opening doors for our students to learn, grow, and succeed. So a lot of great stuff going on, and I really want to thank everyone for a great opening. Thank you.
Yes, I love that our schools are a safe and welcoming place to be for all children. And I'm glad we were able to highlight that with doing the renovations that we needed to over at Birch Hill and Bain Dunstable. I remember being a student at Birch Hill when there were no walls. And as a kid with, now could probably be diagnosed with ADHD, it was not an easy place to be. It was loud and there was movement. And I'm just so happy that they can
So
quietly study like elementary students should.
So it was interesting. Rob Prunier from Harvey Construction
Yeah.
was a first grade student when Birch Hill opened. And so he was there for the rededication. So he
really
remembered it as a first grader, and then he came back a number of years later for
Yes.
the renovation. So it was interesting.
I think the happiest thing I was to see gone from Birch Hill was there used to be this big, humongous metal slide in the back that got really hot in the sun. So safety, I'm proud of that. All right, Ms. Lanford, I'm going to have you go, and I'm going to bop around this way this time. I'm going to change it up. Yes, board member.
Well, since Dr. Andre talked about the buildings, this is a great chance for me to give a shout out, because I talk to school board members from across the state, and we are so lucky with our buildings that they've been well cared for and maintained throughout the years. Some of the towns and cities in New Hampshire, the schools are literally falling down around the children. So we've been pretty blessed here.
I just want to say welcome back to the students. I hope they had a good Indigenous Peoples Day off yesterday.
I just want to thank Dr. Andrade for always highlighting all these wonderful things that are going on at the early part of our meeting, because it just sets the stage for the rest of our meeting. It makes me optimistic. Thank you.
It was just great to see Birch Hill and Maine Dunstable and see what's been done. And the other thing that teachers commented on was air. That they were saying it's not only better airflow, but healthier air. Like they felt that not as many kids were being out sick and stuff because, the air was much better now in the building. And it was tremendous to see the buildings and how much the students and the teachers and everyone just love what's been done. So it's great to see.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Claffey, no comment. Ms. Prin,
Thank you for all the updates.
Ms. Raymond?
Thank you. So my children went to Birch Hill, and one of the things that I think is one of the things I'm most proud of being part of the board here is the work that our district has put into our schools over the last 8 years, say, really focusing on the safety and well-being of our students and our staff. And I wish we could have done it when my kids were there, but it's really nice to know that almost all of the elementary schools at this point have a dedicated security vestibule. And then now the two buildings that didn't have appropriate places to hide when there's a school shooting drill now have walls and doors. And we joke about it, but it is a significant safety issue. We previously had kids all 2 classes packing into the bathroom, and that just, it's not good for anyone to have that. And so I'm really excited about the security upgrades that were included in the project, the things we can talk about publicly, like walls and doors and security vestibules and bollards in front of the building, and then some also behind the scenes security upgrades that were made that hopefully give our students, our faculty, and our parents some peace of mind, knowing that when kids go to school in Nashua, they're in a safe environment. And I will say that HVAC is amazing. It used to be really, really hot in there, and now it is comfortable and, appropriate for learning. So
Good. Ms. Darling?
No comment.
Okay. How many of you guys were able to go to, I wasn't able to go because, okay. Good. I'm glad you guys went. I was super bummed I didn't get to go to the Birch Hill one just because, I probably had stuff hidden in the walls or something. All right, well, this brings us up to, we have no student members tonight. So I will hand the floor over to Ms. Lampier for Committee on Finance and Operations.
So for our last meeting, Dylan Cormier came in and presented his Eagle Scout project. And it's really well thought out, and he was excited about it. And he wants to do it at Charlotte Ave because that's where he went to school. So it's great in Nashua to see how people grow and come back and always think of their schools and everything. It's definitely a trend that I notice here. So I'm going to make a motion to approve the Eagle Scout project for a sensory and sound wall at Charlotte Elementary School.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez. And hold on.
Any comments or questions? I think this project's gonna soar.
Absolutely.
Nice. That was an Eagle Scout, Gary. Soaring. You can laugh if you want to.
a tough audience tonight, man.
Crowd.
Oh, dear.
It's all right. Any other comments or questions?
Even dads don't get away with dad jokes.
Well, I'm not a dad, so I can do whatever I want. Okay, so no other comments or questions, so all those in favor of approving the Eagle Scout project for Charlotte Ave, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to make a motion now to approve the purchase of file storage system from Donegan Systems at a cost of,
That one's wrong.
it is wrong, okay, at a cost of $32,875. Funding to come from the Welcome Center Furniture and Fixtures account.
Second.
Any comments or questions? Ms. Raymond?
Hi, I'm just curious about, that was part of the original budget that we approved for this year, right?
So yes, the Welcome Center, the money that they're using to purchase this from is part of the current budget that we have for fiscal year '25.
Okay.
I mean, excuse me, '26.
Okay. Just someone had asked me the other day how much money we were sinking into our brand-new building for the Welcoming Center, and I was like, it's an existing building with mostly existing staff. I don't think it's actually costing the district money that wasn't in our budget. So I just want to make sure that I was correct after the fact.
I hear no disagreement, so we're, right? Okay.
Right. We got to see that too. It's going to be nice.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It's going to be very convenient instead of having families have to go to multiple buildings.
And I like the online appointment registry.
Oh.
I love efficiency.
It's also good that the city bus will be able to take people up that way.
Thank you.
Okay, so this brings us, sorry. All those in favor of approving the purchase of the file storage system from Donegan Systems at a cost of $32,872?
$32,875, please.
75, I was so close. Okay. All those in favor at that price, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, my next motion is to approve the fiscal year '26 August transfer report.
Oh, second.
Thank you, Ms. Raymond. Any comments or questions in regards to the transfer report? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
And then I get to actually talk about some policies, which is kind of crazy. So I'm going to make a motion to approve policy DHA contract signing authority as presented. And,
Oh, second.
thank you. I don't know if anyone wants me to talk about it. This was approved unanimously at a finance and operations meeting. It came to the board at our last Board of Education meeting, and for the first reading, this is the second reading. And the purpose of this change is to change, it's the purchasing procedures that we follow, and it's to change competitive bids on purchases over 10,000. Previously came to the board, and now we're changing that number to 25,000 due to, inflation. And really, the cost of everything has gone up so much that it makes more sense to have it at 25,000 rather than 10,000. Yeah.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Ms. Lopez? Okay. No? Okay, so all those in favor of approving policy DHA, contract signing authority, say aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Any opposed? Nay. Ms. Daniels Williams? Okay,
Only one?
just one, so motion passes. That's okay. I was like, aye, nay, aye, and I was like, I don't know what's happening. That's okay. Okay, Ms. Lampier?
Okay, the next policy is, I'm making a motion to approve policy DJB, purchasing procedure as presented.
Seconded.
And that one's pretty much the same thing. It is a contract signing authority. Previously, bids and purchases over $10,000 were brought to finance and operations, and now we changed that number to 25,000. It makes sense for these policies to match, and like I said, inflation is the reason. This was also voted on in finance and operations, and the decision was unanimous to send it to the board. It received a first reading last meeting, and now we're voting on it.
Any comments or questions? Did you get a second for that?
Ms. Raymond?
Okay. I know I heard a lot of seconds, but I remember clerking and doing policy, and it was a hard juggling of notes, so I tried to give you some.
I mostly fill it out after. That's why some things might be. When I make mistakes, that's usually why.
Hey, Ms. Bishop, can I just add some clarity?
Hey, yeah.
Hello. So I think there were some questions and concerns related to changing this policy. We'll see, or folks should see in DJB, we still will be bringing any purchases over $10,000 on an annual basis on a consolidated report to finance and operations. So just as a second level of, I guess, check.
Yeah.
I think somebody had asked, why are we going to make the move from 10,000 to 25,000? And so there is that added level, if anybody was curious.
Yeah, I think that was my concern, and it was more about, is there a huge disparity? But I think when I'm thinking of purchasing things at $25,000, to me, that's a big purchase. But when you guys are doing stuff, it's not a ginormous purchase like it is. So,
Yeah, and it, of course, like anything, still best practice, 3 quotes across the board.
yes.
If something's under 25,000, I absolutely will be questioning it, or folks in the business office will be questioning it. So I think just based off of the inflation and what we're seeing other school districts are doing for purchasing and procurement, it makes sense to increase it at this time.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving policy DJB, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes. Okay, this brings us up to, thank you, Ms. Lampier. This brings us up to our Committee on Policy. So I will hand the floor over to Ms. Raymond.
All right, thank you. Just toggling back and forth. So we have several policies for second reading tonight, but we don't have any on first reading because we moved our meeting till next Monday at 4:30 p.m. To accommodate some schedule conflicts that we had and make sure that we have at least a quorum. People are invited to come as always, and that agenda will be out on Friday. So the first policy I have is I move that we approve policy AB, New Hampshire Parental Bill of Rights.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Darling. Any comments or questions about this bill?
So I'll speak to it. I think we've spoken to it a lot over the period. I voted against this bill when it came to the State House. I offered multiple amendments in committee. I offered a floor amendment on the House. I gave some impassioned speeches, and it passed anyways. And now, with my Board of Ed hat on, I will be voting for it because that is my responsibility under the law. This is a state law, and we have to do it. I think that we already had a policy, and many districts had a policy that said that if a parent called and asked a question, that the school district faculty or staff should answer their question unless they were concerned that by answering the question, it would place the child at significant risk of abuse or harm. And in which case, they should call DCYF first and let DCYF decide how and when to tell the parent. The big thing that this policy changes is that now teachers, if they know the answer, must answer the question irregardless of any evidence that they might have that a child might be harmed as a result of the disclosure.
Well, still called DCYF.
They still call DCYF, but now DCYF is operating after the fact instead of trying to get ahead of it. I don't think that's appropriate. I think that the Supreme Court of New Hampshire in the Manchester case was very clear that they didn't think that was appropriate. They listed 8 separate ways in their opinion that parents could obtain information about whether their child is transgender that did not involve calling an algebra teacher who might not even know that. I think Ms. Darling's point to encouraging gossiping at school about what's going on in kids' lives is an important one. That's not what I want my child's algebra teacher or social studies teacher to be focused on. However, I do think that our teachers already know some things that are going on with kids. And if a parent calls and says, hey, I'm concerned that my child is acting depressed, upset, whatever it may be, I'm concerned about bullying, I think that our teachers already have a practice of sharing whatever information that might be helpful to the parent because there is a culture of partnering when it comes to that kind of stuff because it takes a village. But I would encourage parents to make those connections with your child. And I'm going to leave it at that. But I will say that other than that one piece, almost all of the rest of the policy was already in state law. You could already opt your child out of anything for pretty much any reason. It's been like that for decades. I would encourage, again, teachers to continue to do what they're doing, which is to send out a syllabus with all of the materials so everyone knows what's going to happen. I would encourage families to continue to have those relationships with teachers where you can call them if you're concerned about your child, and teachers can call home if they're concerned about a child, and that we continue to follow the mandated reporter law, that if there is a concern about safety of children, that we're letting DCYF know so that the social workers there can do their jobs. So, but at the end of the day, I have an obligation to vote for it because it's the law. But I respect everyone following their own conscience. That's it. That's my soapbox. I'm done.
Mr. Claffey?
2 questions. First, what are the consequences for a district that chooses not to adopt this policy? Or maybe our state rep would know, but.
I would imagine that would open us up for some liability. But not being an attorney, I don't know. State law says you have to have this policy. The state law is very clear. Districts must adopt this policy.
Or.
Period.
Or.
Can I actually ask a slightly different question with a slightly known answer that I think might answer your question, Mr. Claffey?
Sure.
How do we enforce this?
So
My concern is that, say we don't adopt the policy, because that happens. State law passes and it takes months sometimes for us to adopt a policy, and the state law still stands. So even if we voted down, if a parent called a teacher tomorrow and said, I would like the following information about my child, and if the teacher knows it and doesn't give it to them, that teacher will have broken the law, and there are consequences for the teacher.
Not criminal.
Yeah, but they could lose their licensure, they could lose their ability to teach in New Hampshire. There are a lot of very significant consequences for teachers, even if we don't adopt the policy. My perspective on this is that we adopt the policy so that teachers know that that's there. I mean, I'm sure that the union and the district is providing professional development, but I want to be clear that if you choose not to follow it, you're setting yourself up for potential consequences that the state will impose upon our teachers. And I don't think that's anything that I want to encourage to happen.
Mr. Claffey, and then I have something to say. Mr. Claffey.
So the follow-up is, does this law compel a teacher to answer, say, an email from a parent that says, has my student asked to use the pronoun they? Is the teacher compelled to answer that question?
Yes, they're compelled to answer the question.
For a
Now,
high school student?
For a high school student, for a
And if-
17 and 9 month student, yeah, like.
So
But are they?
I don't want a teacher to lie, because there was something said earlier about teachers lying. I would just say, does a teacher have a right to say, I plead the fifth?
No. The teacher no longer has that right. Previously they did, now they do not. However, the teacher is not under any obligation to go do a research project on the question that was asked. Now, if the question was academic in nature, the teacher should probably figure out the answer. But if the question is my child dating Tommy, right? The teacher's like, I don't know. I don't know is an acceptable answer, right? If you don't know, you don't know. But if you do know, you have to tell.
And I do want to be very clear that as a member of this board, I am not ever enforcing any teacher or student or anyone to lie or purposely break any of our rules and policy. My bringing up the enforcement was more that there are so many rules, regulations, policies, little tiny things out there that in the grand scope of things, I almost feel as if there's more protecting, say, a busy teacher who doesn't have time to answer every email. That being said, would never, ever, ever, ever want one of our teachers to lie, especially if a parent is genuinely coming and saying, hey, I'm trying to get help for my kid. And that's the beauty of Nashua is in the many years I've been here and been involved with so many of the different schools, every teacher I've met has had one thing first on their mind, and that is the students. And that is what has made me love this district for all of the faults Nashua itself has. So just wanted to throw out there, I know I kind of ended it on a way that sounded a little bad, but.
Do we want to hold off on voting on this policy until maybe we ask our attorney some questions? Okay.
Yes.
And understanding that even though we don't vote with this policy in, there is a certain standard of expectations coming from the state in regards to teacher response to these questions. But in the meantime, we're going to wait until we have some more legal support. Because obviously, there's a lot of stuff that you guys are going to do in regards to what, like enforcement and stuff that we don't necessarily need to know about. But I'm also thinking maybe more in regards to, like, let's go from a positive side, and a parent generally doesn't know how to ask their student or their kiddo these questions, and they're asking a trusted teacher, like, are you hearing, I wonder, what are you hearing? And then the follow-up question is, are there resources, and how do I have this question? And then the teacher goes, let me get you in touch with our social worker, right? Like, that's the good question that's being had, is how do I connect with my kid about this question that I have? But that's making assumptions, and I don't want to assume that everybody's always doing the right thing, even though I have a pretty, I think someone's called me Pollyanna more than once. But let's wait for Tom to weigh in. Is that okay?
Yep.
And then we can give our ayes or nays then.
Possibly the civil rights coordinator,
Yeah. So
Tom, because Tom's like
I keep
labor law.
forgetting
Steve.
because she's new.
Yeah. So we, with the civil rights coordinator, we did put a quick summary of what HB 10 means. And we had a presentation to our administrators, and I believe the video and PowerPoint kind of went out already, but just we want everybody to be aware what the law says and what it doesn't say, and what was already in law, to Ms. Raymond's point, and what's new. And again, I think it's really about answering truthfully when asked. We also, in the law, says we have 10 days to respond. So there's an aspect on if you're unsure of how to answer, ask your building administrator or central office for some guidance. So there are some timelines within the law as well. So if anyone's educators feeling stressed about answering, they always should, the law says answer truthfully, but if they're unsure, to seek some guidance, and the law does allow us up to 10 days to respond to an email or a question.
Okay. So we'll table
hold
this
it?
for now,
Okay.
and we'll come back to it.
Do I have to withdraw my motion, or can it just hang out in the ether?
You just withdraw it.
All right.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Because I know Regan's already started writing stuff down.
Motion withdrawn.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay, so this brings us up to our next policy, Heather. Ms. Raymond, sorry.
That's okay. I've lost where I'm at. Okay.
Second one.
All right, so I move that we approve policy IMAH, health education, daily physical activity.
Second.
Any comments or questions?
It's,
No one wants to jump through any hoops on this one?
This one is just,
what's the letters again? I'm sorry.
yeah, it's page 108 in our packet.
Hold on, let me scroll there.
So page 108. Basically, this just says that the district's wellness committee will be monitoring the policy to make sure that we are having recess and integrating physical education in our classrooms.
Yeah. Ms. Daniels-Williams?
I just had a question for clarity. So some of these paragraphs say the board and some say the district, but it seems to be interchangeable. I just wanted to know what exactly the difference is like when I'm reading it.
So when it says the board, usually the board is directing the district to do something. So we're making a grand statement that the board believes that daily physical activity is important. And then we say the district must provide support systems to ensure that this happens. Does that make sense? Because our only employee is Dr. Andrade, and we're basically telling him that he has to make sure that his employees do this. So the district refers to the staff, and the board refers to our responsibilities, which is basically to tell people what they have to do. It's a good role for me.
Okay, Ms. Friend?
I'm just curious, at the elementary level, how many minutes of recess a day do kids get now?
3.
Not enough.
3 minutes.
They get 20 to 25 minutes daily as part of their lunch recess, and then we try to get in a little extra movement breaks, whether it's outside or inside, for our younger grades every day as well.
Okay.
Very much want more.
Yes.
What is it at your school?
4.
In our contract for an extra 10 minutes of recess a day, so our kids get 35 minutes of recess a day
Ooh.
at the elementary level.
So just a little preview of next year's legislative activities. There is a bill from Senator Victoria Sullivan of Manchester that would change some of the state regulations on recess. And I haven't seen the language, so I'm not sure. But based on her statements, I would say it's expanding it or making sure that everybody offers it.
Yeah, they were talking about it on NHPR just the other day, just incorporating in movement into academics, which I think I love. If I could have like walked on the treadmill and listened to a book, I would have probably done a lot better. But if I could stare out a window, I would.
Can I just comment on that? Because I didn't mean to chuckle, but I remember in 5th grade when we were learning about the planets and the rotation and everything, that in that science lesson, we did all get up and move because each of us were a planet. Someone was the sun, and like the whole class, we pushed all the desks out of the way, and everyone was moving around in the science class. So just.
That was when Pluto was a planet, right?
Yes, it was. It was in the 1950s. Oh, sorry.
Yes. Just because I always push this CD if anybody's interested. My kids loved it. It was a They Might Be Giant CD called Science is Real. And it was one of those, like, Julia went into 1st grade and they were talking about rainbows and she was like, you mean light refracting? And it wasn't because she was smart. It was because she was listening to songs that talked about it. But they have Pluto is a planet. And anyway.
Maybe that's why our science numbers are going down, because isn't Pluto not a planet anymore?
It's gone back and forth. I don't know where it stands. It's a complicated relationship it has with the universe. I can't stay on top of it.
That being said, seriously though, how are our science numbers going down? Because the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm realizing my 8-year-old has told me more about arachnids and mammals and the water, the weather cycles and water and what direction the wind is blowing and what that means. And I don't know what Birch Hill's feeding their kids, man, but there's a lot of science involved there, so.
Yeah, it's good. Okay, so my apologies for getting us off track. We're going back to policy IMAH. We have a sponsor and we have a second, and we have no other questions, and it's not sponsored, that's a different word. Mr. Johnson, I'm sorry.
No, just we were talking about the elementary school kids with their recess and stuff and getting that time in. How do we get that time in at middle and high school for that 30 minutes?
No, they don't get anything.
Is it just walking from class to class?
Well, there's a gym requirement for graduation.
Right.
Yeah, but
They
it's
don't.
not a daily requirement.
Really?
High school has
Go ahead, Mr.
high school
Coffey.
has E-block, and teachers have 40 minutes to be creative.
Yeah.
What about the
Jumping
time in
jacks or
between
whatever.
classes, booking it up and down those stairs?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's pretty much.
This school killed me doing their open house.
Yes. Okay, so all those in favor of approving policy IMAH, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Continue on, Ms. Raymond.
Okay. Oh, I turned my thing off. I move that we approve JLCK, Special Physical Health Needs of Students.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. So this policy was very short in the past. It just said, hey, follow people's IEPs, health plans, and 504 plans. And now it really lays out exactly what kinds of supports kids are entitled to promote their physical and emotional well-being.
Cool. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving policy JLCK, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion passes. Policy Julia.
All right, so I move that we approve policy JLIA,
Second.
supervision of students.
That sounds about right.
So this is a new policy. When the Ed 306s were updated earlier this year, they required that districts adopt a policy regarding supervision of students under their promoting school safety section. And essentially, it says that we are responsible for providing supervision to students while they're at our schools, which is an appropriate expectation.
Yeah. Sounds like something that could have been an email.
Yes.
Okay, who seconded that?
I did.
Ms. Darling did? Okay, any comments or questions in regards to supervising children in schools?
I just want to point out one thing, that it includes loading and unloading of school buses. So there should be an adult out there for bus duty.
That's always done.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so seeing no other comments or questions, all those in favor of approving policy JLIA, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Do we have updates from CNE, Ms. Prin?
No, but we will be sitting in on the policy meeting to talk about homework next week.
Oh, it's exciting. Okay, so this brings us up to our Committee on Human Resources, so I will hand the floor over to Ms. Gilio.
Hi. I recommend I'm making a motion to suspend the rules to consider items from the HR meeting earlier this evening.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes.
And so it was a very brief meeting, and Mr. Baus, as always, gave us an update on unemployment and how many positions were open. And we had 8 items in the personnel recommendations, which we recommend that you all pass.
Okay,
So I'm making a motion that we pass the personnel recommendations.
okay.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the personnel recommendations dated October 14th, 2025, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Lastly, we had an administrative recommendation. I make a motion to elect Andrea Fall to the position of Middle School Special Education Coordinator effective today, October 14th, 2025, had an annual salary of $85,300. She was unable to attend tonight to meet us, but she plans to attend our next meeting, so we can chat with her then.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Raymond. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving that recommendation, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, we have no unfinished business. On to new business, so I will hand the floor back over to Dr. Andre.
Thank you. For the first item, I'm looking for a recommendation to approve our MOU, the eligibility of special education differential, which is in your packet, and Mr. Hoffman spoke to earlier.
Second.
Well, you have to make the motion. He can't make the motion.
Okay, I would like to make the motion to accept the MOU for the Nashua Teachers Union. Do I have to read the whole thing?
Just eligible, well,
Okay,
the
a
MOU for the
memorandum of
eligibility of special
understanding,
education differential.
eligibility of special education differential.
I second.
Thank you, Ms. Gilio. Any comments or questions about this MOU? Ms. Raymond?
Thank you. I'm really excited to see this because we had a lot of discussions during negotiations about wanting to provide the special education differential, and it didn't occur to me that it wouldn't be like obvious exactly which positions those were. So I'm glad that we have a list. My question is, with the teachers of the deaf making their own contract at some point, right? Or is that wrong?
No,
That's the sign language interpreters.
Correct.
Got it, which is a different, never mind. That was it. That was my whole question.
Okay. All right, so seeing no other comments
Can I
or
just, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Mr. Claffey.
I just noticed the effective for the blah, blah, blah at the third line has been crossed out. And I guess, is there any reason to think that we might run into a situation next year where the NTU thinks that this was supposed to be an ongoing bonus?
So
Or
that.
is it understood that this is a 1 year for the moment?
So if I may, so that's where it was back and forth, and we were looking for the MOU stipulating that in line 1, that's 1 year only for those people, the teachers of the deaf, the behavior specialists, the BCBAs and preschool educators. And then that's only for year one. And then in the following years, the differential will be for special educators, case managers, teachers of the deaf, and preschool teachers. If we include or expand it, then it has to be negotiated. So we want to define what that was and make sure that it was 1 year only as opposed to over the length of the contract. And that was reviewed by Attorney Clausen.
Ms. Raymond?
How does it work with these? Because it's been a little bit. So we approve it, and then the teachers union also has to ratify it, or they do it first? And does this have to go to the alderman too, or is it just an us thing?
Just us. Okay. Okay. No other comments or questions? All those in favor of approving this MOU say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And with great gratitude to all of those teachers who are taking on an exceptional amount of work and a difficult population, we appreciate everything that they do. Hopefully that touches it a little bit.
So the next item is I'm looking for a recommendation to approve the MOU with ABA centers, and I can talk about it after a motion goes through.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Ms. Raymond.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Ms. Lampier. Dr. Andre?
Yeah, so this is a MOU with the ABA centers. We have a number of students who receive ABA services outside of school. And then what the ABA centers and families are asking for some supports within the school setting that's over and above what is offered either through an IEP or a team. So this is if an IEP team says that ABA services are not needed, but a family still wants to do it, this is an outside partner. But we want to make sure that any kind of services for us, that a student needs it during the school day, it should be through an IEP team. And if it's through the IEP team, then it's the responsibility of the district. But if family still is getting outside support, similar on how we have some of our mental health, we signed a couple MOUs that's over and above. This is a similar kind of contract. The ABA Centers for America would be responsible for the billing. We wouldn't be responsible for the billing and coordination. None of these services would happen in a classroom setting, again, similar to our other contracts with other mental health providers. It would be in a one-to-one in an office that wouldn't interfere with any instruction or expose any other students to their services. So I think it's going to be beneficial, and then we'll review the data. If students need more services, again, it'll go back to the IEP team, and then it could transfer over to the school's responsibility.
Okay. Ms. Lampier?
I've always, from what I know of special education law, the schools are responsible for providing whatever the students need. And this just seems weird to me. Like, if the child needs ABA therapy, then the school should be providing it. So what is this?
So it would come to a team, and a team would determine if those services were needed, but a team might decide that there's no data to support the parent request. So a parent is requesting those services but the school, the IEP team says it may not be necessary.
But if a parent doesn't approve of the IEP, then they don't sign it, right?
Well, there still could be IEP services, just not at the level of support that the parent wants.
Okay, and they're responsible for paying the ABA?
Yeah. It's typically through insurance.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, does anyone else in the state have a similar understanding?
So we are so they have similar contracts in other districts, but I think we've been practicing the real transparency and bringing all MOUs and contracts in front of the Board of Education. So We received a question from them of why is the board approving it? And so,
really?
Yes.
Well, thank you for your honesty.
So we want to make sure that, again, that we have full transparency and that we know what's going on in our schools. But this is, again, if the team determines that these services are necessary, it should be the district's responsibility. But these families already have ABA services outside of school, and they want to make sure there's some coordination and overlap within the schools.
I'm assuming, Ms. Lamfair, that what we're talking about is, so the IEPs are to help kids with education, but there are some behaviors and stuff that may not be impacting their ability to learn, but they need to be supported.
So we
Right.
do have RBTs and BCBAs that
Yeah.
are through IEPs.
Right.
Right, and so we will provide those services, and we signed a couple contracts this year with other agencies and one with ABA centers to provide those services. What's happening is there's a disagreement.
Yes, I understand the
Right.
disagreement's happening quite a
Right,
bit.
and so families are asking the ABA centers.
I'm just curious as to what my special education guru would think of this. And I'm not sure she would approve. So, I mean, I'll vote to approve it now because it says on here that it can be terminated after 30 days written notice to the other party. So I'll approve it, but I'm going to also take it to the special education guru and find out how legal this is, because I have my doubts.
Yeah, so again, I just want to reiterate, it's the IEP team. If the team determines that the data is appropriate, like there's data to support BCBA or RBT or extra supports,
Yeah.
then it's the district's responsibility.
Right,
And so 100% in agreement with that.
I have a question.
okay.
So my question would be, so if they currently have ABA services and the district doesn't write it into the 504 or the IEP plan, but they're going to allow a pull out of the classroom, not particular academic classrooms, but we're going to allow a pull out of the classrooms for these services provided by specialists to serve ABA needs by a separate company. But as a district, we stand for push in, not pull out.
So this, yes, yeah.
But this is a pull-out service.
It is, and it's also coming from the request of parents. So this is, again, we could say no to this, which is, and then, students may not have access to what their parents are asking for. So this is, again, a way for parents wanting continued supports, some data points in that kind of continuum, but there's an aspect that I agree, but some parents are asking for some check-in points. They're working with the ABA centers. This might be 10, 15 minutes, a week, or depending on the level of services. But to Ms. Lampierre's point, again, if we as a school district and an IEP team see that the data supports RBT or BCBA or different type of services, it's the district's responsibility. And so that's our responsibility, and we would enter into that. Right now, there's several parents who are contacting ABA centers to say, we want some additional check-in periods, and where the parents are calling, this is memorializing that, how it would work in the building. So again, if there's a student need that rises to that level, it's an IEP decision and it's the district's responsibility.
But as a district, that should be something we're already covering. If a parent comes to the superintendent or the Nashua school district and says, my kid needs more services, I feel like we're already working with this ABA center because this particular ABA center is already working in our schools. So if we're already working with this, but I feel like my child needs 15 more minutes, or 20 more minutes, why are we not supporting that instead of saying, no, as a parent, you can have it, but you got to pay for it. Use your insurance, pull out your checkbook, do whatever, when as a district, we should be covering that. We can write it into the IEP or the 504.
Not if the team says the district doesn't support it. So that's the disagreement. So the IEP team is saying the district, there's not data there to support these extra services. It's the same thing with the mental health aspect. We're looking for other community providers and working with families to make accommodations. But right now, it's not the.
So what happens if a family member or a family disagrees with the outcome of an IEP? What's their next step?
So there's procedural safeguards.
Right.
So they can follow the procedural safeguards and request to follow the process, that it might go to a due process hearing, but there's other legal steps families can take if they disagree with the IEP team.
It appears to me that this might be a way to lessen the conflict between the parents and the school district. So although I am not sure how I feel about the legality of this, if it is legal, and then I think that it could be helpful to both parents and family, because there are circumstances when parents would like services for their kids that the IEP team determines they're not really eligible for, and rather than escalating, costing the school and the parents both money, if we could make this arrangement, if it's legal, then it would be good for the kids, the parents, the school. So, but like I said, I'm not.
And it's resources that they're already getting their kid outside of school, but they're able to do it in the school, just like how we have Greater Nashua and Harbor Care coming in and doing mental health supports during the day. So it's a service that is not new to the kid. It's just happening during the day.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. Can we get an opinion on this before we vote on it?
No.
More than happy.
I don't know what everybody thinks, but.
W. Bennett,
Or just,
whoever.
yeah, I mean.
Okay. Is there an agreement about, I know, I see you.
I just had a comment, before.
Ms. Julia.
Okay. I just want to clarify, because I'm hoping I understand this correctly. We have many students who have IEPs who receive ABA services during the school day because it's required by their IEP. We're talking about students who either we've decided no longer need this as part of their IEP, or the parents just have a desire to have more services that the school does not feel the child needs during the school day. So this ABA Centers for America, they're not the people in our schools that are providing these services. That's our staff that's providing this. No.
So,
They do come in our schools.
yes.
We don't have any ABA staff that we.
We do. So this is over and above, right?
They're
So.
not our employees, they're through this service.
So we have a number of different agencies that come in that are either BCBAs. We have our own BCBAs as part of the MOU. But we have, in other IEPs, access to RBTs, BCBAs, or behavior therapists. So those are what the IEP teams are writing into the IEPs. So in this case, there's a handful of students who are receiving ABA services through the ABA centers, either before school, after school, on the weekends, and then during the IEPs, our teams are saying that level of services is not necessary. The data doesn't support it. And so really what the families are asking for is a check-in. And then we're through the ABA centers, we're providing this accommodation for them. Again, if behaviors or any data increases, the IEP team will increase or reconvene and then relook at the IEP, and then what's the district's responsibility from there.
So I'd have a following question then. Do we not have?
Sorry, it's me.
Do we not have enough staff to provide these services, similarly to not having enough staff for the psychologists, where we have to bring in people from an outside agency? Is that, I mean, at one point, did we ever have enough of our own people who were hired to be ABA?
We always are looking for more BCBAs. So, but that's not reflection of this contract.
Okay.
So we do have a number of agencies coming in providing outside services, but
Okay.
again, this is something that if it was the IEP team determined, right now, there's a handful of kids that this would pertain to. If those IEP teams determine that these services were needed, then we wouldn't be looking for this contract with them. The IEP, that would be the district's responsibility. So it is a little bit of, as Ms. Regan Lampier mentioned, a little bit of a compromise with the families.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Claffey?
I don't understand how postponing a vote will help the students that this proposal is designed to help. Like, if you care about these kids, why would you say, let's put it on hold?
I just asked to see what everyone else
I didn't
thought.
I didn't mean you, I mean we. Why would we postpone a vote if you really want to help these students?
Can I? So, I think that we definitely should ask the lawyer, because any ABA services that are going to be billed by insurance, the clinician has to check off that these are medically necessary. So that is something that me not being legal, feel like that should fall back on to the district. So I feel like we should ask maybe the company and our lawyer, because any services that in a BCBA is going to provide have to be medically necessary. They're not going to just say, you can come and have this. I really think that, how about the kids that don't have insurance, that are denied on an IEP or a 504? Nope, you don't qualify for this, or you qualified for it last year, but you don't qualify for it this year because someone said that you don't, but they don't have insurance. Or it puts a burden on the family. I mean, is there any thoughts on that? Like I said, I absolutely love the fact that they can have services, but ABA service are applied behavioral services that should be taken care of by us. I don't know. So I personally think that we should ask the lawyer, get some stats on the BCBAs. This is a pull-out service, which is another thing that the district says that we don't stand for. So many questions. What does the board think?
Can I just clarify something? Because I think this is getting a little misconstrued on what we're truly trying to accomplish. So if I'm a parent that has a child that needs an OT service, and the IEP team has said, little Susie doesn't need OT in school anymore, but as a parent, I decide to put my child in an OT service after school hours, what this MOU is allowing us to do is say, as a parent, yes, now ABA centers can do a check-in with the student in our school building. Okay.
Yeah, that's my understanding. All right. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Okay, so I guess we'll see how the board feels about this with a vote. So All those, and note that Ms. Gilio stepped out. So all those in favor of accepting this MOU for ABA centers coming into the schools, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Can you put your mic on?
I'm not opposed to the contract. I'm opposed to not asking the lawyer.
Okay.
I'm going to be a nay also.
I'm also a nay. I'm of the same opinion. If we felt the need to put the parents' policy back through legal, we should give this the same amount of respect.
Okay. Ms. Julia, you stepped out, but there was still commentary going on. Did you want to vote on this?
Did I miss the vote?
Yes.
So we decided to vote not get an opinion.
Right, decided to vote and,
Yeah, I will vote in favor of it.
okay. Okay, so motion passes, but we'll still reach out to the attorney and make sure that they don't have any concerns. Okay.
I just have one thing. So when Ms. Lamfrey asked for it to go to the lawyer and I seconded it, and then we talked about it, do we have to close that part out too?
She didn't make a motion.
I didn't make a motion.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted everyone's opinion.
Yeah. Okay. This brings us up to our strategic plan. I hope everybody looked at it. It looks amazing. I'll hand the floor back over to Dr. Andre.
So looking for making a recommendation to approve our strategic plan that's in your packet that was presented at the last meeting.
Any comments or questions? I will make the motion to approve the strategic plan as presented.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Gilio. Ms. Raymond, you had a question or comment?
Yeah, yes, I was part of the previous strategic plan process, and it was,
Tedious.
yes, tedious is a good word. I was going to say unwieldy. And I think one of the things that we learned out of that process is that having specific items and then numbered items and then sub-items and then being really specific, we lacked the ability to pivot when like COVID happened.
Right, we had to
and
just abandon.
we ended up just abandoning the whole thing, and it was really disappointing. So one of the things that I really like about this one is that it avoids that pitfall. It does have measurable goals, which I think is important in a plan, but it also will give the district some flexibility to respond to conditions on the ground, which I appreciate. I also just was really, really impressed by the number of community partners and parents that were involved in this process. I think that we did not have enough of parents involved in our last strategic plan. And so I really appreciate all of the work that was done here. So I'm going to support it.
So just for, so thank you for that. There are still a couple typos in here. And it just, so it still has to get cleaned up, and there's a couple titles that have to be amended. The other thing that we're working on is more of an executive summary with all the measures of success and some operational definitions. So to Ms. Lopez's questions earlier about action steps and things going forward, we'll have a roadmap of when things are going to be presented on a yearly basis through this.
So we vote on this tonight and it goes back to?
Yeah, so this is, again, if there's no comments, the strategic plan committee was waiting for kind of any comments before
Right.
that last aspect of it.
You're the only one that heard me, right?
Yeah.
No,
It's on microphone.
I'm gonna need to call your parent because that was the second time I've had to tell you to put your phone away.
So next steps is really, it'll go back to the TLA, which was our facilitators, and then it'll go into a published kind of form.
Yeah.
I don't want to call it the pretty version, but we were using it the pretty version, but we'll clean up some of the typos and grammar, and then it'll be ready for prime time in the near future.
Okay.
Thank you for all the hard work to Dr. Andre and the Strategic Improvement Planning Committee. Thank you for all those that sat on it. I'm very excited, motivated.
Yeah, I think it gives us a nice, clear idea of where we want our district to be, and what kind of graduates are we growing from the kindergartners that we have now. So this is the kind of, I think we've been getting back on track with COVID, and the strategic plan really makes me feel like we're ready to embark on the future and take the resources that we have, build upon them, and aim for the stars. Okay, so all those in favor of approving the presented strategic plan, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Excellent. Okay, do we have any, we don't have any non-public stuff, right? Okay, so this brings us up to our second public comment.
Oh, sorry.
Was it just Alex? Well, I didn't know if Gary had something. If it was just you, I would just say, come up. I wouldn't make Heather walk across the room again. Okay, just Alex, come on down. We have your undivided attention.
We can do that. All right. Thanks. Alex Hamola, 6 Ayer Street. All right. I like good with the bad. My bad is, when will all of our schools have security vestibules? I'll leave it at that. I also want to say that I love that all of our teachers and all of our staff love all of our students. Especially mine, of course, but all of them. I also, I guess, Dr. Andre kind of answered my question. I thought strategic planning was going to meet before the second reading, but I guess because there was no comments, which is a good thing, we're skipping ahead. So
Yeah.
got that kind of answered live. And then I am going to give a shout out to our PE teacher who already integrates PE in all that she does, and core learning as well. So my kiddo comes home and knows how to count in other languages, and I said, where do you learn that? In PE. They also learn different math skills or different history or facts around the world as they're doing physical education, because she's integrating it with the teachers and saying, oh, you're learning, kindergarten's learning counting by fives. All right, we're gonna do jumping jacks by fives instead of counting singular. And like I said, facts around the world, languages, you name it. So gonna throw that in there, that it's already happening in some of our classrooms, so, which is great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so this brings us up to our board member comments, and I will switch it up again tonight and start off with Ms. Lampier on the spot.
I don't have any comments tonight, thank you.
Ms. Lopez?
I just want to say Mount Pleasant and Amherst are never forgotten. So I hope that we do something to them soon, because it's been 2 years. Or more.
Okay. Ms. Gilio?
No comment.
Mr. Johnson?
Just give a shout out to all the senior athletes who are now going through their senior nights for the fall sports. I had the luxury of doing the Nashua South volleyball banners this year, so it's great to see these kids getting that last hurrah and before they move on to college or whatever else they have planned for after.
Yes. Mr. Claffey?
I was going to pass, but I think I can say this, that congratulations to South football for beating Bishop Girton.
Yes.
Is that okay? If you're a taxpayer, no offense, but.
They did not beat North. That was a sad game. Ms. Prin?
No comment.
Ms. Raymond?
Mine is actually comment/question. I saw a Facebook post from the Nashua School District Facebook about Dr. Allison Roy coming to Dr. Crisp to do some engagement with parents, but now I can't find it because Facebook is blocked in here, and I didn't write down the date. So I'm wondering if anybody knows off the top of their head, because she's amazing, and I went when my kids were younger, and she has such great advice. Anybody?
I'm looking.
Well, if anybody has Facebook and they're not in one of our district buildings that blocks it, on the Nashua School District Facebook page, they posted Allison Roy's thing. And would that only be open to Dr. Chris families, or could people from other schools go?
It's open to parents from any of our schools.
Okay, we'll talk long enough for you to find it. October 20th at 6 p.m. from Just Alex.
So anyways, I saw her when she came to Nashua last year, to this building last year, and she had some really, really great advice about how to handle when kids get dysregulated, which can be a normal developmental process, as well as an issue for some kids on top of that. And so, I don't know, I thought she was amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm excited that the school is offering it.
Thank you for queuing that back up for us.
So I'm sorry, I didn't repeat it. October 20th at 6 p.m.
Yes.
I forgot that Ms. Homeland doesn't have her own microphone.
Right? Ms. Darling?
I have begged Ms. Hamala on many occasions to sit up at this table. So
You're here anyway. Anyway.
Someday.
Yes, and big shout out to Proton VPN for its free function that allows me on Facebook in the boardroom. I feel like one of those people that come in and they're like, I'm going to say this so many times until you guys listen. Secretly, I don't want you guys to actually block it, because then I would have to go find one, which means I'd have to pay for it, and that would be frustrating for me. So, I actually just wanted to say I am so filled with love tonight. I felt really grateful for the scares coming in. It's always nice to have community feedback and getting that like back and forth. I've said before, I wish we could take public comment and make it a discussion. I think it would actually be more helpful to the community if there was more back and forth. And I just want to say everything they said was somehow factual while also agreeing with everything that we said while sounding like they disagreed with us. So I'm going to take that as a positive, and I love when the community is here. So thank you all.
Okay, so I just want to, the Neffies are tomorrow night. Where are they going to be at?
Sky Meadow.
Sky Meadow. Go ahead.
So it's a great celebration. Mr. Claffey is part of the Nashua Education Foundation, sat on the board for many years, but it's a great celebration. 2 years? Yeah, many years.
It was a great many.
Multiple. But
It
it's
was
a
only
great,
mediocre when other people did
it's
it.
a great night to celebrate our educators from every building. I think this is the highest number of attendees that in the history of the Neffies. So great numbers, and I think it's the amount of tickets being sold. So congratulations to all the educators who are being recognized tomorrow night. Is a great community celebration.
Okay. So with that,
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
oh, I heard Ms. Prin, sorry. Okay, so all those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We are adjourned at 8:19.